Hey gang, John Backrelli here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Friday, June 23rd. I almost said January 23rd. I have no idea why, but it is June 23rd. I'm used to doing these things on Thursday, but this has been a crazy week this week. Just been kind of a whirlwind. My daughter is out of town on a mission trip, way out of town. She's in Dominican Republic. And there's a storm headed that way, and I've not been sleeping all that great, and I've been covering her shift at the store. So it's been kind of a wild week. So some prayers for all the folks down there on the mission trip with the storm coming would be greatly appreciated. And anyway, so it's I'm a little tired. So if I look tired, I really am tired. Anyways, so water temp this week at Belle Isle as of this morning was back up to 70 degrees. 70, that's right, 70. So if you remember last week, we were 63 degrees and we're back up to 70. So if that doesn't give you whiplash, I don't know what will. It also gives the fish a bit of whiplash too, because this temperature has been bouncing around all over the place. Guys are reporting temps in and around the mile roads in the low 70s, and then once you get back out into that main current flow out there by with water coming down through the channels, it drops back down into the mid 60s. So quite a bit of temperature variation out there in the lake, and you know, that's just the way it's probably looks like it's going to be the rest of this, at least for the foreseeable future out there, with quite a bit of temperature variation from the shallows going out into that main channel area. So there's still perch action going on out there by the channel. Guys are still catching fish all the way from the St. Clair Light all the way up to basically the mouth of the South Channel. I wouldn't be afraid to try lots of other summertime places, guys. Out there by that B buoy should be good at this time. There's lots of weed beds out in front of the Mile Road areas down there. I know guys that have been catching fish over in front of 9 Mile, also been bigger fish, better quality perch coming out of that dumping ground area. And a lot of times when guys talk about 9 Mile, they actually are talking about dumping ground, so to speak. I mean, those fish are so close together. Some of those weed beds are, I mean, you're just a stone's throw away from each other when you can be out from 9 Mile and be all the way to the shipping channel, and then you just go a little bit south and you're in the dump. So anyways, so those fish are out there. They're going to be in those areas. I've talked about this before, where there's good weed growth, where you got a soft bottom because of the mayfly hatch at this time of the year. And there are mayflies that have been hatching. It's been kind of going up and down and back and forth for the last month or so. But now with this water temp back up to 70, if it actually stays there, then I think we're going to see a lot more mayflies, especially around by our store. But we really haven't had the right winds yet to really bring them ashore. So we'll see what happens. I know some of the areas though down like around St. Clair Shores have gotten quite a few mayflies already this year, and then even further downriver. But we just really haven't seen them by the store. Charter captains like Garrett Samsel, Joe Bauer from Smallmouth Heaven Guide Service, those guys are still running out, still doing multi-species charters on walleyes and smallies. They're just, the numbers are so good, and it's generally, I don't want to jinx these guys, but it's been generally so easy for these guys to get limits of walleyes that they just haven't stopped. So, and the clients love it. So that's still going on out there. And I know Joe has been fishing further up in the St. Clair River system. And he gave me some good advice too. I mean, with that water as clear as it's been now out there by the channel, what you guys are probably finding is that it's an early morning bite, right? And then it seems to taper off. Well, it's not so much that the bite is tapering off. It's that there's so much pressure on those fish with the clear water conditions that you really are moving those fish. And those fish are moving off that channel bank, and a lot of times they're going east. They're going more into Canadian water. There's a little more weed growth over in that area, and so those fish are just moving and getting away from the boat traffic and moving over into those weeds. Now, if you want to kind of, you know, beat that rush, you can start fishing on that outside of the pack and just, you know, you watch your GPS watch your trail plot and just intentionally move farther to the east, knowing that that's where those fish are going to go, and you'll be able to stay on those fish a little bit longer, and you'll stay ahead of that crowd. Or you can even already start over there and let the guys push the fish to you later in the morning. So it's never a bad idea when you're coming up into a new group of boats is to kind of make your first pass kind of motoring around and just survey the lay of the landscape with your electronics and see what's going on down there. Look for weeds, look for marking fish, obviously, and then look for density of both the weeds and the fish, and try to make a mental note of what's going on down there, and then plan your strategy accordingly. Don't just keep hammering the same area, especially if you're in really clear water conditions like we have right now, because you're going to get your first pass is probably going to be your best one, and then those fish they're going to get wise and they're going to start moving out of the pressure. So anyways, that's all I just wanted to mention that, because we've got crazy clear water conditions out there all over the lake right now. I know we've had rain all day today, and we had some winds a couple of days ago, but it really hasn't changed a whole lot. The ground's so dry that we're not getting a lot of runoff. So really not getting much color in that water right now, so it's staying very, very clear. For you guys that are chasing smallmouths, and I know some of you guys are really struggling to find big fish. You've got a lot of really good numbers of smallies coming, and that's for guys that are fishing all the way still up to the bank, all the way out to 10, 11, 12 feet. A lot of good numbers of fish, but you're having a really hard time finding those big fish. And I mean, I think it's this transitional period. It has a lot to do with the water temperatures going up and down. It's got to do with a lot of different factors, but this has definitely been a very strange summer so far, with the weather. We had a really late cold spring, we had a late spawn, and everything is just kind of out of whack a little bit. Doesn't mean you can't get good fish. It just means that you're going to have to work a lot harder to find them, and you may not have big schools of big fish. You're just going to have small pods. Now, one thing that is going on out there right now with the smallies is that there's continuing to be a very good topwater bite. And what you guys are going to find is that bite is going to be especially hot around the big mayfly slicks out there, or the rafts of the actual mayfly. It's not generally the mayflies themselves that you're seeing in the slicks. It's all the casings from the mayflies that are out there. But that's usually a good indicator that there was a hatch going on in that area. But one of the big things about those slicks is those slicks provide cover for the smallies and for a lot of other fish too. And when you get those slicks and they go over a weed bed, or they go over another type of structure, like maybe a depth contour, a break out there, what you're going to have is you actually have like a superstructure thing going on, right? So you've got that cap, or that it's almost like having a raft out there basically that's creating a shadow. And when that shadow goes over these areas that already have a good population of fish, what it's going to do is it's going to tend to concentrate these fish in that shadow area, underneath that raft. And it's also they're either gonna go under there and it's gonna be a great ambush spot for them, or they're gonna go under there because there's bait fish also hiding under there as well. So it's not necessarily that the fish are eating those casings, although I have seen them gulp, big old gulps of the casings too. They're up there on top. A lot of times they're just under those areas, and they're using them for cover. So focus some attention around there. And again, if you get one of those big slicks and it's on like a weed bed, or it's on a drop off or something like that, I'd pay extra special attention to it and work those whopper ploppers or Xeraspooks or other topwater baits, pop-ars, whatever you got in the box that's handy, and work it around the edges of those slicks. And I think you're going to have some success, and it's a lot of fun watching these fish blow up on topwater baits. Joe Bauer was telling me too, he got to actually watch perch for the first time, big perch, surface feeding out there on mayflies too. And it's incredible. All these fish will eat mayflies out there, and during the hatch, they're all feeding. And so take advantage of it. Focus attention in those areas where the mayflies are hatching, and in and around those slicks, and I think you'll be happy with that. Now, the muskie bite, finally, they're starting to get some nice looking fish out there. The fish are looking healthier every week. Charter captains like Max Lasky, Jason Quintano, Fins and Grins charters, they're out there, and they're finally getting some 50+ inch fish, and the fish are looking healthier and healthier every week. And I expect that to just continue as we go through the summer. And I'm sure that the temperatures are affecting, these crazy temps are affecting those guys out there as well. But these charter captains are pretty savvy, and they're usually able to adapt to the conditions out there and still put a lot of big fish in the boats for their customers. And I would check with these guys if you have questions, need contact information. give us a shout out at the store, and we can hook you up with these guys. And if they've got any available, if they got any openings coming up, I'm sure they'll be able to get you out there and get you on some big fish. Let's see, talk about the St. Clair River a little bit. So this time of the year, that whipping at night gets going pretty good. But one of the things you got to remember out there, guys, this time of the year too, is not only do we have a mayfly hatch going on, but I get reminded occasionally by guys coming into the store that we also have a mosquito hatch going on out there right now. And I think it's of epic proportions. At least it sounds like it is. So make sure if you're going out whipping, and the guys are tearing them up at night, although I think the bite out there for the walleyes right now has been like really spotty. It's like the fish are like either off or they're just on, like insane on, where you just, you're just pounding them and then they shut right off. But what I was going to say is make sure you take the bug spray out there. If you've got any other mosquito type systems out there that you're going to put in the boat, I would make sure you bring them with you, because there is a heck of a mosquito hatch. Even though it's been crazy dry, there's always a ton of mosquitoes up there in that St. Clair River system at night. So make sure you go prepared. Otherwise, you could have a miserable outing out there if you're not prepared for all those. I'm getting itchy just thinking about it. Isn't that crazy how that happens? Let's see. Trying to think if there's anything else. Weather coming up next week is going to be, well, it looks like Saturday is going to be great. Looks like Sunday afternoon we may have some storms, and then the rest of all going through next week, it's anybody's guess what it's going to do. I was just looking at the forecast, and it's like there's south winds, there's north winds, there's east winds, there's rain, there's thunderstorms, there's cold nights, 55-degree nights coming. So who the heck knows what it's going to be next week? I might be talking next week about that water temp bouncing back into the 60s based on the weather forecast next week, which would be absolutely insane if we go ahead into July with water temps back in the 60s. But I guess we'll just wait and see if the weathermen are right about that next week or not. But at least we know we got good weather coming Saturday, and it looks like most of Sunday. So if you get a chance, get out and enjoy the weather we got coming this weekend and take advantage of the bites that are going on Lake St. Clair. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon, and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.